Welcome to the first episode of the Late Night Geek. I am your host, Jake T. Aria, and this is the talk show style podcast. It'll have you saying, ah yes, just what the world needed, another average white guy screaming his opinions into the ether of the internet. As this is the first episode, it might be prudent to explain the premise of the show a little bit if you haven't gotten it already. Basically, I'm a big fan of late night television and podcasts, and I thought, why not combine the two? So this show will be in the format of a late night talk show. I'm going to have an opening monologue, special guests who I'm going to interview, as well as musical guests. I'm really looking forward to this new project, and I hope that you enjoy it too. So without further ado, let's get on to it. Over the last few months, these insulated cups made by the company Stanley have been flying off the shelf. Recently, Starbucks, Target, and Stanley all joined together to come up with a shiny, limited edition pink cup. And riots have ensued. People have been coming to blows for these shiny pink mugs. Although it seems fitting that brawls would break out over Stanley cups. If you're not watching this podcast in its long form or listening to the audio version, you're most likely watching this clip on TikTok. TikTok started out as an amazing platform for people to express creativity and has even been a passageway for many people into more formal forms of entertainment such as movies and television. However, they recently implemented the TikTok Shop, which has led to a lot of people creating that the platform has become nothing more than a bunch of pseudo-celebrities trying to hawk cheap products. Basically, it's become the Gen Z QVC. This week, a new video game called Pow World premiered. Steam reported that it got 5 million downloads in the first day and currently holds the rank for second most concurrent players at one time. The premise of the game is simple. It is Pokemon with guns. Many people have pointed out that some of the designs in Pow World aren't just parody, but rather just straight up ripoffs of Pokemon. Other people have embraced the games, and the modding community has already made a Pokemon skin for Pow World. Now you can play as your favorite Pokemon trainer, Ash Ketchum, as he tries to catch them all and arm them. From what I heard, Jigglypuff no longer writes on your face with a Sharpie when you fall asleep during their song, but rather skins your face and wears it like Hannibal Lecter. At least now we can all fulfill our shared fantasy of shooting Mr. Mime in the face and watch the life drain from his soulless eyes. Whew. Now, in movies, it's been announced that after 20 long years, Polar Express will be getting a sequel. This coming just in time to traumatize a whole nother generation with its uncanny animation. Somehow they made Tom Hanks creepy. After the writers and actors strikes from last year, film production is finally getting back into full swing, and many of the projects put on hold are posting about them getting back on track. Hugh Jackman, or as I like to call him, Huge Jackman, shared this video of himself preparing for his role in Deadpool 3. He shared it with the hashtag Becoming Wolverine Again. And this is actually the perfect opportunity to announce I will have a cameo in the new Deadpool film. In fact, I also have a video of myself getting prepared for the role. Hashtag Becoming the Blob Again. John Boyega announced that he'll be in a prequel series to the classic movie Book of Eli, playing Denzel Washington's part of the titular hero. I'm a big fan of John Boyega, and I wish him the best of luck in this project. And I know he'll knock it out of the park because he has such a wonderful track record of taking over beloved franchises. With James Gunn taking over the helm of the DC Universe, it was announced that Nicholas Hoult would be playing Lex Luthor. Jesse Eisenberg reached out to Nicholas Hoult and gave him some advice about playing the character, and told him, whatever you do, don't watch me. Only Jesse Eisenberg had given all of us that advice when Dawn of Justice came out. Loungefly just announced an exclusive new mini backpack for the Epcot Flower and Garden Festival. As you can see, it's themed with Orangebird. And of course, Orangebird is one of the most iconic mascots within Epcot. Disney created him decades ago in conjunction with the Florida Citrus Council, and he's been a beloved member of the Epcot family ever since. However, they do try to keep him out of the China Pavilion, because we know what they do with orange birds there. Universal Studios announced that they have started construction on a brand new Donkey Kong-themed roller coaster for their parks. Apparently, this roller coaster will actually jump off the tracks during the duration of the ride. But that's nothing really new. If I wanted to ride a roller coaster where the train comes off the tracks, I'd just go to a Six Flags park. And now for you collectors, a segment we're calling the Funko Pop of the Week. This week's Funko Pop is actually an entire line. Funko announced a whole new line of Deadpool Funkos. I myself collect a lot of Deadpool Funkos because they love putting him in wacky outfits and costumes. Sometimes these are inspired by the movies, the comics, and sometimes they're completely new creations by Funko themselves. I would greatly suggest you check out this line if you're a Deadpool fan. Now, before we get to our very first guest of the show, I just want to share with you my movie review for Mean Girls the Musical. I'm a big fan of the original Mean Girls film. In all honesty, I'm a huge Tina Fey fan in general, and that movie is one of the greatest comedies of all time. This movie was really going to have to wow me if I was going to love it, because I already love the original so much. Now, I must admit, I have not seen the Broadway production or heard any of the music, so I was going into this very, very fresh. And I absolutely love this movie. I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. Every performance knocked it out of the park. I even felt that Renee Rapp was a better Regina George than Rachel McAdams. Another standout performance was Avantika as Karen, and she was quoted as saying, "The world needs more glamorous and popular brown girls." As a man who's married to a glamorous brown girl and father to a little brown girl, I would love to see more characters that my wife and daughter can look at and go, wow, that's a character I strive to be. Karen is not one of those, though. Mia, if you're watching this in the future, not this one, okay? Have bigger ambitions than just being the hottest one in the room, okay? Please. Alrighty, we're gonna have Disney TikToker Bibbidi.Bobbidi.Beard on right after this word from our sponsors. Hi, it's me again. I don't actually have a sponsor for this episode because it's, well, my very first episode. But if you're someone who would like to sponsor the show, contact me. My DMs are open on all my social medias. I'm planning on wearing a different geeky tie every episode, so if you make geeky ties or tie clasps or lapel pins or stuff like that, let me know. If you make other products or services that you think would mesh well with the vibe here on the show, let me know. Unless it's that Lord and Lady of Scotland thing, because that is a complete scam. It's not real. Do not buy those. Anyway, back to the show. My very first guest is an amazing TikToker. He is known for making fantastic Disney park-related content and is known for his almost equally amazing hat. Without further ado, I would like to bring on Bibbidi.Bobbidi.Beard. How are you doing tonight?
How's it going? Doing good. Not this hat, the straw hat, just to be clear.
Yes, not that hat. He's wearing a different hat tonight. The headphones won't fit around the straw hat.
Nope.
It's got holes in the brim. Okay, well, first thing I want to ask you is, how did you start making content on TikTok?
I think for me, it was the same as it was for a lot of people. Just started making videos coming out of the pandemic and everything. And what really started kind of taking off for me is when I started doing more of the lip sync content. And I actually did it initially as like I used it for like stitch responses to some other Disney creators, and just kind of took off from there, being something that people enjoyed. And I think for me personally, just the impending 50th kind of really helped, because I started making a lot of stuff around that time, and so a lot of people were looking at a lot more Disney stuff, and there were a lot of creators that came for the 50th that allowed me to meet and work with some other people, and just kind of took off from there. But it was never a goal or an intention of mine. It just kind of happened, and just been riding the wave.
Yeah, were you already a pretty avid attendee of the park?
Oh yeah. My wife and I have been annual pass holders since we were dating. I got them when we were dating, because we both love Disney. We went to college in Orlando, at a small private Christian college, and would just be coming over to the parks on the weekend. And at that time, it was $350 for an annual pass. So it was very easy,
Oh,
very easy for us to get them. And we would go down there every weekend pretty much, to whatever festival was going on, or just to enjoy the parks for a couple hours. And yeah, that was our thing even before TikTok.
that was what me and my family did every year for our vacation. Was we'd go to Disneyland, and our annual passes were like $189. I
Jeez.
mean, it's crazy how much they've gone up. But on the note of merchandise, the hat. How did the hat come about? Because even when I was following you, you weren't wearing that in every video, but eventually that became like part of your iconic look.
It's just, I got like, it's not even like I've been a sun hat person. I've always liked hats more, but I think I was just in Disney Springs. They had a Ron John there, right by one of the exits, and was in there one night, and they had like a straw hat for like $17. And I looked at it, and I'm like, had a patch on the front. I was like, I can peel this patch off easily. It's sewed on and like just in the corners. and I just got online and got myself like a Disney patch to put on it because I'm the kind of person that I always like to kind of coordinate. And I had a lot of hats, and I had a number kind of similar to this one that were themed to various different franchises and not things like just a blank hat or like sports teams or things like that. And so I just made the sun hat as a way of having a Disney hat and that I would wear when I go to the parks. And from there, it just kind of took off. That along with spirit jerseys, like simultaneously, that just kind of became what I was known for because I was wearing one or both in most of my videos. And it just kind of became a thing. A lot of people tell me it's how they spot me in the parks. And I get a lot of comments on a regular basis of people being like, "Oh, I wish I saw you." And there are times I didn't wear the sun hat, and then I get those comments. I'm like, I'll wear the sun hat. I don't want like people like wishing they ran into me. It's like I'm not like I'm trying to have people run into me, or anything like that. But it also helps with the spirit jerseys because I create a barrier of shade around myself, so it drops the temperature for feel for me a little bit. So
So one thing I've noticed from your content is that the Disney creator community is like really tight knit, and I was wondering how that came to be because I've noticed there are a few creators you make a lot of content with, like Blake's Pop Nook. I know you make a lot with him. And how did it come about that you started on a regular basis making content with these creators?
So, it really started from the beginning. Travel Agent William is one of the first people that I became friends with, and now, I mean, he literally is one of my best friends. But it just came out of being mutuals and commenting back and forth a lot on each other's stuff, and then something like going to the parks. It was really easy for people coming from out of town to be like, "Hey, I'm going to the parks today," and like I said, with the 50th that weekend, I met. A ton of people that are part of like my core friend group here. I met William earlier in the summer, but he was really kind of the one that spearheaded. Just like he started a text chain and was just like, "Hey, if you know anyone else is going to be the 50th, and add them into this group." And I mean, he had a group of 20 or 30 people, and from there, we've just met and developed more friendships. Because through that day, it's when I met Rosie, and I'm now friends with Rosie and her husband, Rosie's Magical World, are now really close friends of ours here local. And it's just kind of how it developed through being mutuals online. It's how I met Megan out in California. And then when we went out to California, definitely everyone always had this, hey, I'd love to meet you kind of mentality. And so some of these other creators that I was mutuals with online, even like with you, just commenting back and forth on each other's stuff. And then when it was like I was going out there or they were coming out here, someone would be like, I'd love to meet up. And from that, I've just kind of built some actual real friendships, to the point where anytime we've got someone coming from California, our guest room is always open for some of those friends. And just it kind of just got born out of shared similarities and love for Disney and love for other things with especially like recently with like Blake and everything like that. Um I met it was just commenting back and forth and then seeing if he wanted to hang out in the parks because I knew he was a pass holder and just immediately kind of hit it off as friends. We like a lot of the same stuff and just there's a lot that goes on off of the platform, but I mean these are people I talk to daily in either text chains or individually about things going on in life and just born out of shared similarities.
Disney really does bring people together. And I remember, I think the last trip was the very first time you and I and Donnie and your wife all got together, and it was so much fun spending the day with you and getting to make that content. And Donnie and I walked away from that day feeling like that was so much fun because sometimes it can be awkward meeting mutuals from TikTok, but spending that day with you and your wife really felt like just like spending the day with a couple friends that we've known for years. It was just Disney really it's a social lubricant. It is the alcohol of those
Yeah.
who don't want to drink to have fun, but it's just as expensive a habit. Has making Disney content changed your enjoyment of the parks at all, or changed how you like view the parks?
Definitely, because me and my wife we love going to the parks, but we were never big on things like dining reservations or even knowing the smaller ins and outs of things that you could do on property. So through being in this Disney social media world, I've just been exposed a lot more to things that I didn't do. We've tried a lot more stuff, restaurants that we'd never tried before. We've never stayed. We've actually still currently have never stayed on Disney World's property anywhere because we've always been locals, but we have friends that come into town and we go to their rooms and stuff like that, or help them take their luggage. So I've got to see what a lot of the resort rooms look like. I know what the amenities are like because we'll go hang out with them at the resort. Other little things like, I'd probably, if it wasn't for Disney social media, I couldn't have told you that there's a stable on one of the on property where you can go see the horses that they use for the Disney parades, and like the ones that merit a ride. I wouldn't be able to tell you that there are other like dining shows and everything like that at some of the resorts, or little things that you can do. Like there's at one of the resorts you can do like a sangria making class where you literally pay and you learn how to make sangria and what ingredients go good together. There's so many little things that I wouldn't know anything about if it wasn't for the community that we're a part of. And then on top of that, enjoying the parks with friends. We very much are. I love hosting. I get that from my parents. Being a military brat, and the successful career that my dad's had. My mom, from a very early point in his career, was always in kind of more of a wife to senior leadership kind of role, and was always hosting new families coming in or goodbyes when families were moving on. And so I kind of got bit with that hosting bug, which is why we're always inviting people to stay with us, taking them to Disney. Things like when we spent the day with you guys, like definitely like we know the parks, so we know how to get around and maximize what you can do and make sure everyone has the most enjoyment out of their day. So, and we have other friends that are that way too, that know things that we don't know. So going to the parks with the friends just is that much more enjoyable because we know how to do the parks well, or if someone doesn't, we get to show them that, we get to show them a good time. So it's only made it better.
Well, I think that that is a great place to leave things off, on that note of enjoying the parks even more. I know that getting to meet up with creators has been a lot of fun, for Donnie and I at the different parks. We've met up with you, Riddle John, and Spider Sam, who are a few Florida local creators, and it really does add something to the experience. Disney is really something to be shared and enjoyed with others, and it's awesome that you are so accommodating to your friends and inviting them to stay with you. That is such a that's really awesome. You've made real friends through TikTok, and when people talk about, oh, TikTok, it's useless, it's not something that has any value, but that those are real relationships you wouldn't have because of it. And I love that part about that community, that Disney creator community.
Absolutely.
Thank you again for coming on. This has been a great time. Thank you for being my very first guest. Are there any projects or anything that you would like to let people know about, your socials, that we can share with the audience?
No projects in the works at the moment. You can just find me on TikTok or Instagram at Bibbidi.Bobbidi.Beard. Same handle on both platforms. And if you enjoy Disney content, come check me out.
Thank you again, man. This has been so much fun. Have a wonderful night.
All right, thanks. You too.
Bibbidi.Bobbidi.Beard. What a guy. One of the best creators out there on TikTok. I'll be linking all of his stuff in the description below. And now it is time for our very first musical act, Death by Fireworks!
Something got lost in the moon, but now that I've got something different to prove, I don't have any time left to lose. Waiting for my skin to bruise, I'm not so invincible. I'm building a home with the one, the girl with self-sharpening knives on her tongue. She don't mind all the work getting done. We're sliding gold rings on our fingers, becoming invisible. I've drawn out a line through my life, 1 year all at once, one day at a time. It's always a blur. red wine.